That's the cue there. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us this evening. I know it's been a very busy Davos for many of you. We thought we'd come together today and discuss the cities of the future, and starting with the cities of the past. So to set a little bit of context, cities evolve as people do. They're an iterative way of growing, of urbanizing, of bringing people together for many different reasons. We've built cities for generations. And now as we look to build the new generation of cities around the world, the question is, what do those look like? Many smart cities have been popping up. We have two individuals with us representing some of these cities, and we'll hear from them about how they do aim to be carbon neutral, about how they do aim to bring people together in different ways, and really spearhead the future of living, the future of work, summing up what humanity aspires to be. So with that, I will introduce briefly each panelist, and then they will share a little bit of a video of each of their cities and a little bit of a talk on what they're looking to do. And we'll do some Q&A. If anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. We will not allocate a certain amount of time at the end for questions, given that this is a short panel. However, we're happy to take questions at any time. I will start by introducing Rayan Fayez. Rayan is the Deputy CEO of NEOM in Saudi Arabia and oversees all of NEOM's corporate functions, including the investment office, the investment fund, the development fund, and all of the everything that goes behind the scenes in terms of creating the city. He previously held positions at Banque Saudi Fransi, Savola Group, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs, hails from MIT, and is a fellow YGL. So very, very pleased to be here with you, Rayan.
Thank you.
And the play button starts your video.
Okay. First of all, thanks very much for coming here today. We're going to maybe talk a little bit about future of urban development and urban planning and what cities are being developed for it. I represent NEOM. NEOM, just to give you maybe a little bit of context around it, because a lot of people hear the name but know little about the actual concept as well as the physical attributes of NEOM. NEOM, actually the word comes from the word neo, which is new in Greek, and M is the first letter of the word mustaqbal, which is future in Arabic. So it's literally the new future, and that's the idea behind it. It's a region in the northwest of Saudi Arabia, about 26,000 kilometers in area, and it has 5 different regions from within it that we're developing. Trojena, which is the ski mountain, and we're going to be hosting the Winter Olympics in 2020, Asian Winter Olympics in 2029. The islands, first island of which is Sindala, and we look forward to hosting many of you there a year from today. The Line, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. Oxagon as the industrial cluster of NEOM, as well as 95% of NEOM is a nature reserve, which that alone is a region. So everything we're doing in NEOM today is only on 5% of the land mass. The idea behind it is really to build not only a big and impressive real estate development, but also a real economy behind it. The Line initially will be home for 1 million people by 2030 and 9 million people in its end state. That obviously requires many sectors to be activated. We have 14 sectors that will be the economic engines of what the future of NEOM will be. Now, why NEOM? And a lot of people ask, why is the interest in doing this? There are a lot of problems in the world around cities sprawling, populations increasing, urbanism, cities that are designed for what they were used to in the past, but never had a fresh look as to how cities should be designed for the future. So this is an opportunity to redefine livability, an opportunity to redefine business, and an opportunity to redefine our relationship with nature. 95%, as I said, of NEOM is going to be a nature reserve, 100% powered by renewable energy. We sit in a sweet spot of both solar and wind energy, and that will be the only source of no hydrocarbon energy production and generation. And we're going to have rules and regulations that are future-proof, that are designed for best livability, best business, and ensure that it is welcoming people from all around the world. It is a Saudi project, but it's there to attract the best talent from all over the world to live there. And that's really the idea. And without all of these unique enablers, we wouldn't be able to be there. And these enablers have been put in place precisely. Some we inherited, the location, the weather, the proximity to, we're 6 hours away from 40% of the world, close to Europe, close to Asia, close to Africa, big population centers, but also enablers like the rules and regulations that we're putting in place that will govern NEOM, as well as the renewable energy, the 100% renewable energy powered region, which has never been done before. And when you have a region that you're starting from scratch with no legacy, we have the ability to experiment in designing how it should be for the future, rather than being anchored to what it was designed for in the past.
So can we play the video
Yes.
to show everything
Yeah.
that you...
Sorry.
Because you've been like teasing us with all of these words, and we want to see the visuals. Thank you.
So this video is a video of the principle of the line, which is really the revolution in urban design that NEOM is pioneering. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we go through the rest of the panel in the session.
So when I'm looking at this, it's a grid infrastructure.
Yeah, so basically the way it works is it's 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high. Wow. The height is from the sea level. So as you go inwards and the topography actually goes up, then the height of the actual building structure reduces until you get to the mountains, where it actually, you no longer have a mirror line. The idea is about what we call zero gravity urbanism, which is not necessarily having to be linked and anchored to a ground. How can we think of cities that go vertical and not only horizontal? This has many benefits. It's 5 minutes walk from all of your needs. Each module is 800 meters wide, and each module will take 80,000 people on average. Obviously, some are going to be more densely populated than others. And when you do it this way, you're only 5 minutes walk away from your school, your hospital, supermarket. The other thing is that the catchment area becomes a lot bigger. The catchment area for businesses becomes an 80,000 catchment area within a 5-minute walk, which, as you can understand, instead of opening many pharmacies or many stores, that one store will service a much bigger catchment area than it typically does in other cities that have, 15, 20,000 people in even dense cities, catchment areas like New York and London. The idea as well is to reduce the footprint. So imagine 9 million people living on 34 square kilometers. And if you compare that to other cities, it's almost the 2% of the size of London, yet taking the same amount of population at end state. The first module is going to finish in 2027, end of 2027. And as you can imagine, this is a generational project. So it will continue to go on until 2045, when the whole project is complete. We think of this as not a start and an end. This is a city that is being built. So it's being designed forever. Yep. And hence the glass walls to give it its timeless appeal, as well as a integration with nature in a way like you would never see before. The other thing is the way we look at this as well is that every big city has a big park in the city, nature within the city. Yet those parks are not accessible to everyone. They're accessible to the people who live around it. Hyde Park in London, Central Park in New York. So it's a park in a city, and we like to think of the line as a city within a park, because the line is actually literally in the middle of nature, and everyone has access to nature within 5 minutes. So that's the basic idea of the line. We can go forever actually talking about it.
I'll stop you.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very visionary, very inspiring. Thank you for all of that. I'll take a minute and introduce Azis, who's the Vice President Director and Group CEO of Indika Energy in Indonesia. He's the Vice Chairman of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Deputy Chairman for the Clean Green Technology for Indonesian Coal Mining Association. So after NEOM, we'd love to hear what Indonesia is working on in terms of cities of the future and how you're thinking about urbanization going forward.
Okay, thank you.
I'll play the video if that's
later,
easier.
maybe like 30 seconds or something.
Okay.
Just an introduction first. Yeah, I guess thank you for being here. First of all, I'd like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Rashid, who is the chairman of Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who cannot be here with us today. I'm delivering his speech. Indonesia's current capital, Jakarta, is famous for three things: deeply populated dwellings, soul-crushing traffic congestion, and heavy air pollution. Thus, in 2019, Indonesian government announced that it would move the capital city from Jakarta to East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo. The decision to move the capital was not made lightly and involved extensive research and consultation with experts. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 centuries of rapid urbanization fueled by the Industrial Revolution have pushed half of the human population into cities. Congestion, densely populated dwellings, pollution, and lost identities are some of the general traits that define the global metropolis today, including our present-day capital, Jakarta. The idea of building a city 2,000 kilometers away from the most populated island in Indonesia to sprawling forests in Kalimantan arose not from trivial matters, but from pressing need to serve future generations in a better Indonesia. We have to start by pointing out the challenges. NEOM is set in the desert, which is a logistically challenge probably in itself, whereas Nusantara is located in the tropical rainforests, which we have pledged to preserve and conserve, actually. With the preservation of 65% of the surrounding forests and the planting of 15 million trees, Nusantara will become Indonesia's net carbon sink by 2030 and first carbon neutral city by 2045. We were able to completely design a city according to our visions since we started with a blank canvas, allowing us to dream as wildly as we like. From the drawing board, Nusantara's grand vision was to become the first smart and sustainable forest city in the world, offering its inhabitants a close connection to the natural world while living in a technologically advanced community. There will be green buildings powered by 100% renewable energy in this city. It is also designed as a sponge city that will manage its stormwater runoff in a sustainable way and reduce flooding, which is a common problem in many Indonesian cities. For the first time in Indonesia, through its sustainable water management system, Nusantara will provide safe drinking water running through its taps, uplifting the prosperity and health of its residents. As the first 10-minute city, as opposed to 5-minute city, the city aims to provide a smart, clean, and integrated mass transit system that makes traveling and commuting a breeze. As a result, there will be no traffic congestion caused by private cars and significantly less harmful substances in the air caused by the combustible exhaust. Nusantara future residents will be assessed by the fully autonomous vehicles, sensors scattered throughout the city to monitor needs and integrated infrastructures. But there is more to the city intelligence. In order to meet the needs of the common citizen, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and machine learning will become integral parts of city life. There will be a world-class university and innovation centers in this new capital, embracing transparency, accountability, and efficiency in e-governance. With sustainability and ease of living as the founding principle of Nusantara, it is designed as a new locomotive for transformation toward an Indonesia based on innovation, technology, and green economy. Finally, this relocation is a symbol of hope. It is a sign that Indonesia is looking to the future and that is committed to creating a better and brighter future for its citizens. It is a reminder that our country is capable of ambitious projects and that we are determined to make a difference in our own lives and in the lives of others. The relocation of Indonesia capital may not be easy, but we will make it happen. This inspiring project is a sign of our strength, ambitions, and potentials. It represents our vision of Golden Indonesia 2045, where we become the fourth largest economy in the world, and a reminder to our children that we can achieve anything we set our minds to. Thank you.
Thank you, Aziz.
Sure.
So with those two very inspirational ideas, thoughts, and future thinking, is there anything that you have taken from today's cities? So what have we learned from the old cities that we actually do want to take with us? And what are potentially some learnings from today's cities that we are trying to avoid making the same mistakes?
When we look at today's cities and how they've been designed, historically the cities have been designed as 15-minute cities, and historically when cities have evolved. And as the world has changed and those cities remained in the same original design, every city had to improvise to find a way to accommodate the growth in what's going on. Now, when we look at how we're thinking of the NEOM in particular, how we're thinking of it as a living lab for new technologies, new ways of living, new urban designs, that's exactly the way we think about it. And actually what we're thinking is, how can we make it more scalable, and how can we bring some of the technologies and innovation that we learn to the rest of the world? I'll speak as a Saudi and on behalf of Saudi Arabia. Our chairman, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, actually under his leadership, Saudi Arabia is now feeling like it should be able to compete globally at every level. So, and NEOM is actually a very good example of that. How can we deliver on something that is never been done before? We have to understand and start from the starting point that it's never been done before. If we think about it like any other project, like any other real estate project, I think our thinking is going to fail to absorb what we're trying to do. So we have to think with creativity, imagination, and vision as to how this could be delivered. And once it's delivered, we plan for it to become the thought leader across many of these technologies and industries. And I'll give you one example, or a couple of examples actually. We're building the biggest green hydrogen project in the world. And now that it's being built in partnership with Aqua Power and Air Products, now that it's being built, we're receiving a lot of interest from companies and countries actually from all over the world, seeing how can we develop the phase 2, phase 3, and it becoming the center of green hydrogen globally. Water desalination is always linked to a very dirty industry, very environmentally unfriendly. But then when you rethink the idea of water desalination as an industry that you develop, as an industry that you power using clean energy, which is what we're trying to do, have zero liquid discharge back to the sea, which is what we're trying to do, and commercialize the brine into other industrial needs. So once that's done, and it's done at scale in NEOM, that technology and these ideas can be exported to the rest of the world, with NEOM being the innovative part of it, which I think is really a core part of what the vision behind NEOM is, creating an innovation center to export technologies and innovation to the rest of the world, and the belief that Saudi Arabia actually can do it, as opposed to it being a country of oil and gas and a consumer country. It should be a country of innovation and exporting technology and new ideas to the world.
Well, and I'll take the liberty of adding to that. I think there's one company out of KAUST, the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. It's called Red Sea Farms. And they've innovated, and they have a patent on how you desalinate salt water for the purpose of vertical farming using 95% less energy than any other technology out there. And they are exporting now into the US. They're retrofitting vertical farms globally. I mean, it's just one example of the innovation that we see in technology. Aziz, over to you. in Indonesia, a country filled with culture and heritage, as you build out this new city, what is it that you think about potentially taking with you from that culture and heritage, and how do you overcome perhaps the little bit of friction around leaving things behind and leaping into the future with such innovation?
Yes, well, I guess in Indonesia or in Nusantara, while it will have a Indonesian specific or unique sort of attributes like tropical rainforests, right, the biodiversity, but we believe that the enablers, the technology, the innovation which are needed to make the city happen is very much replicable, right? But however, the idea of this new city is not only built upon the infrastructure idea or technology, but then how can one city represent the value of Indonesian people, right? The interaction between the citizen who living in the new capital, whereas the Indonesian has two sort of values, which are very monumental in terms of in all the Indonesian people. One, the unity in diversity, so inclusivity. And number two is gotong royong, which is the inclusive and collaborative teamwork. Right? These two will need to be embraced, and hopefully this new capital city can have an interaction among all the people live there with that value-driven sort of attitude, mindset, and behavior.
Thank you for that. So as we think about the new things we're learning here, one thing that you both touched on briefly was the carbon neutrality of these cities. What learnings in designing do you sometimes look back, maybe personally, and say, we wish we had done this before, or can we take this and retrofit our existing cities with this? Have there been any specific learnings as you've gone through this process? Rayan, can we start with you?
Yeah, I think when you look at urban sprawl and the problems that we face in many of the big cities, you see that, which is a key principle in designing the line. Remember, the line is going to take 9 million people by 2045, and actually 1 to 2 million people by 2030. When you think about it, how can we use vertical living better? And I'm not saying only skyscrapers, actually create layering of cities rather than simply expanding horizontally. I think this is one thing that could be applied in many of the existing cities. Secondly, the carbon neutrality, as you mentioned. The technologies have become a lot cheaper now, become a lot more available, and there still sits a very big legacy on fossil fuel powered electric generation. But you will see that Saudi Arabia, as an example, continues to lead on the renewable energy front, even though it's a big oil and gas producer. And that is also a conversion that we're seeing broadly in Saudi Arabia that are transforming the cities or the general economy of Saudi Arabia to become a lot more reliant on renewable energy going forward than it has been in the past. We do have natural resources in the sun. Some parts have the right natural resources in the wind. I think taking advantage of that to converting existing cities to becoming a lot more carbon neutral, less carbon, less environmentally less pollution to the environment, I think is one thing that Saudi Arabia is doing, broadly speaking, in the economy. Obviously, and in NEOM is going to another extreme of taking it to net neutrality, and if not, positive in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Azis, any learnings that you wish you could retrofit?
Well, I think the technology certainly play a bigger role, right? So then, and the baselining of the carbon sort of emission you are producing at this point of time. So technology will have a significant role in monitoring the carbon emission at a certain point of time, certain place. So with that, I think this new city, we would like to be able to monitor, to control the carbon emission at that environment. However, at the beginning, at the first place, the city is built upon like 100% renewable energy, a more clean, and electric vehicle, that sort of stuff. So hopefully this can be materialized.
Thank you. So I have one last question for you both, and then I'll turn it to the audience in case anybody has any questions. I would like to know, for me, it's very impressive and again, very inspirational to sit with you both here and have these fantastic emerging market countries really leapfrog and build the new infrastructure that is fascinating and really leading the world as to what a great city should look like, from the environment perspective to the way that people live, to the way that we embrace nature, all of it. Do you think that this is a scalable matter? And do you think that this will ever be scaled back into the West, per se? Rayan, do you want to take that first?
Sure. I think obviously these projects come from a vision, from the right vision and the right leadership, and thinking of these things in a generational matter, not in short-term stints. And when you think about it this way, you can think about how delivering something like this can last for a really long time, but at the same time, maybe not scalability physically, but scalability from a technology standpoint and learning to the rest of the world. This is, we're experimenting with a lot as well. We're experimenting with a lot of technologies, and having the zero legacy blank canvas to do it gives us the opportunity to experiment and fail, but also if we succeed, that could become the scalable part to the rest of the world as to what works and what doesn't work in the thinking of new urban design and urban living.
Well, I think I agree with Rayan earlier, right, when he said it all started with a vision. So I think the vision of the President Joko Widodo of Indonesia has a very, with a certain target in time of 2045, when Indonesia celebrate its independence of 100 years. So with that vision, we will have a future of living, future of work, future of interaction among the citizen, the population in the city, right? That is replicable in a way that how can people react and interact with each other. Not to mention about, because the infrastructures, the technology are very much scalable, very much replicable, but I think the value of the people, how they interact, how they behave, how they think in that which are based upon a certain set of values are something the Indonesia would like to share to the world.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Okay, so I have one last one then. Are you moving to NEOM?
Of course.
Are you moving into the new city?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
We already have 2,500 people living there.
Do you?
Who are the employees of NEOM today.
That's not a fair count, though.
It's actually, okay.
Where is it located in Saudi? Is it near your current capital city? Or
Sorry, could you just repeat the question if you don't mind?
yeah. Where is it located precisely in Saudi?
It's in the northwest of Saudi Arabia, close to the borders of Jordan. You know where Gulf of Aqaba is? That whole area is NEOM. It's 26,000 kilometers, square kilometers, which is the size of Belgium, roughly. Yes.
Huge.
It's a very big area, but again, as I said, we're only developing 5% of the mass. So 95% will be left as a nature reserve. 5% will be developed across 4 or 5 different regions.
Thank you for that. I think we are out of time for today. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Rayan.
Thank you, Noor.
Thank you very much, Noor.
Thank you.